The flight attendant ripped Aisha's boarding pass, snarling, "This seat isn't for you!" As a smug VIP smirked, unaware that in 30 minutes Aisha would ground their entire airline. Aisha. Carter paused just inside the first-class cabin of Star Air Flight 1621, her travel blazer still catching the scent of the New York spring wind. The lighting above row 2 cast a silver glow over the polished armrests, chilled champagne, and designer handbags. She held her ticket out calmly. Seat 2A, right by the window. Jessica Reed, the lead flight attendant, stepped forward like a guard at a palace gate. Her blonde hair was pulled back so tightly it seemed to sharpen her features. Her eyes flicked over Aisha's face down to her plain leather tote, then back again. Her voice held the practiced courtesy of someone paid to be polite, but never taught how to hide disgust. "This is first class, ma'am," Jessica said, lips tight. "Economy is that way." Aisha didn't flinch. She simply extended her boarding pass, her tone. "Even I'm aware I'm in 2A. Jessica took the ticket, gave it a glance, and with one smooth, practiced motion, tore it down the middle. "Must be a mistake," she said flatly. From behind a tall woman in a cream pantsuit swept forward, clutching a monogrammed handbag. Her heels clicked like punctuation on marble. Karen Langley. The kind of frequent flyer who treated flight attendants like waitstaff and strangers, like competition-eyed Aisha like she was blocking her view of the ocean. "I deserve that window seat," Karen snapped. "I always book 2A. Every time Jessica nodded slightly like a soldier receiving orders, she turned back to Aisha, her tone dropping further. "Miss, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside. You're clearly upsetting our VIP guests." Aisha remained where she stood. Around her, whispers bloomed like weeds. A man across the aisle nudged his wife. A woman snapped a discreet photo, her face half hidden behind a magazine. Aisha's jaw tightened. She was used to this. She'd been here before, not in first class, but in other rooms she wasn't supposed to enter. She remembered her 9th grade teacher, Mrs. Rollins, who looked her in the eye and said, "Girls like you don't end up in college, honey. Just get a job and stay out of trouble." She remembered the cramped apartment in Newark, the nights spent typing code under the flicker of a borrowed desk lamp, dreaming of a different life. Every insult back then had forged a piece of armor. Today she wore it well. Karen leaned in with a syrupy smile. "Who let her in here?" "This isn't a charity flight." Jessica gave a short, fake laugh. "We'll sort it out. Just a misunderstanding. I'd say it's more like a security risk." Karen added loud enough for everyone to hear. The air thickened. One man chuckled. Another shook his head and looked away. Aisha's hands remained steady at her sides. "I paid for this seat," she said, meeting Jessica's eyes. "I have every right to be here." Jessica stepped closer, voice harder. "You're causing a scene. If you don't move, I'll have to call security." From the back of the cabin, a young man tilted his phone just slightly. Malik Jones' mid-20s jeans and a hoodie was quiet, but his camera lens wasn't. He had been watching the whole thing, and now his phone recorded steadily, silently. His brow furrowed, not in pity, but in understanding. He'd seen this script before. Near the crew curtain, another figure stirred. Elena Torres, a senior operations officer in Star Air's regional team, stood quietly half-hidden from the rest. She adjusted her badge, then met Aisha's eyes for the briefest second. She gave the subtlest of nods, barely perceptible, but intentional. A signal Aisha exhaled once. Then with her right hand, she tapped the face of her smartwatch one button. A single signal. In the control room beneath the terminal, a dormant system activated. Encrypted messages buried deep within Star Air's internal comms grid began to ping to life. Elena slipped away from her post and into a maintenance corridor, her tablet already lighting up. Karen didn't notice any of it. She was too busy inspecting her manicure. Jessica placed a hand on Aisha's shoulder. "Ma'am, you need to go." Aisha didn't move. Her voice was calm. "This will be a moment you remember," Jessica scoffed. What, you'll write a bad review? No. Aisha said, I'll write your future. Jessica's mouth twisted, unsure if it was a threat or just arrogance. You'll regret this, Aisha added softly. Karen rolled her eyes. Is that supposed to scare us? From his seat, Malik looked from Aisha to Jessica, then back again. The camera in his hand never blinked. He didn't know who Aisha Carter was, not yet, but something in the way she stood made him press record just a little harder. This brazen act of prejudice was about to unleash a storm no one on that plane could imagine. Have you ever been unfairly judged because of your appearance? Share your story in the comments. Hit subscribe. If you believe in standing up to injustice, this is just the beginning of Aisha's fight. Jessica's heels clicked briskly as she stormed toward the front galley, radioing for backup. We've got a disruptive passenger in first class. Immediate assistance required. Her voice was all urgency and self-righteous indignation, crafted to paint herself as the victim, back in row 2. Aisha remained standing, her back straight. Her breath measured. Karen Langley adjusted her sunglasses, indoors no less, and muttered, This is what happens when you let standards drop. The cabin murmured like a stirred beehive. Passengers exchanged glances, some amused, others visibly uncomfortable. A woman in row 3 leaned over to her husband and whispered, They wouldn't treat a white man like that. A moment later, the cockpit door opened, and in stepped a tall, barrel-chested man in a slate-gray suit with a Star Air pin on his lapel. Victor Hayes, regional manager of airport operations. His smile was tight, managerial, the kind that practiced empathy without offering it. He looked at Aisha with the kind of glance that had followed her most of her adult life, measuring dismissive, This, the passenger. He asked, barely glancing at the others. Jessica nodded. She's refusing to leave the seat. Created a disturbance. We tried to explain. Victor turned to Aisha. Ma'am, I need you to deplane immediately. I paid for this seat. Aisha said evenly. What exactly am I being accused of? Karen chimed in. She stole the ticket. I watched her fumble with it like she didn't even know where to sit. Victor raised an eyebrow. You have any proof of purchase? Aisha pulled up her Star Air e-receipt on her phone and held it up. Confirmed purchased weeks ago. Non-refundable, assigned seat 2A. Victor didn't even glance at the screen. Look, we can sort this out later, but right now I'm ordering you off this aircraft. You're siding with someone who just accused me of theft without evidence. She said calm but cutting. Are you aware that's a serious legal accusation? Victor leaned in. You need to stop talking and comply, or we'll make sure you're permanently banned from Star Air flights. Understand. A few rows back, Malik Jones zoomed in on the confrontation, heart pounding. Every word was being captured. He'd seen the headlines. He knew what this was, prejudice in a pantsuit. As Victor postured in front of Aisha, Malik's camera caught another angle, Karen subtly slipped a thick envelope into Victor's hand, tucked between 2 brochures. The pass was smooth, practiced. Victor didn't even blink. He just nodded and murmured, She's gone. Jessica turned toward the aisle, triumphant. You heard the man. Time to leave. Aisha didn't flinch. She simply reached up and tapped the side of her watch again. Elena Torres, now deep inside the terminal's operations corridor, watched a blinking dot on her screen change from blue to red. It was time. Victor reached for Aisha's elbow. We don't want to escalate this. You already have, Aisha said, her voice low. This isn't just prejudice. It's illegal. Jessica scoffed. Illegal. You're nobody here. Aisha's smile was small but sharp. That's where you're wrong. She shifted slightly and positioned her wrist closer to her blouse collar. A hidden microphone embedded in the watch band had been recording the entire conversation, including Victor's threats and Karen's unfounded accusation. I'd recommend choosing your next words carefully, Aisha said. Victor laughed humorlessly. What, you gonna post a review? Suddenly, the cabin speakers crackled. A man in 1C looked up puzzled. Are we supposed to hear that? Then Victor's own voice echoing across the first-class cabin. She's gone. Then Karen. She probably stole the ticket. Passengers froze, phones rose in unison. Jessica spun toward the cockpit. Who patched that in 30 feet away in a quiet operations booth? Elena calmly tapped her screen again, looping the recorded bribe moment, Victor murmuring, "We'll handle her right after accepting the envelope." The audio played again, louder. Victor turned pale. Karen muttered, "That's illegal. She hacked us." A man in 4A stood up. "No, you bribed someone." "That's what I heard." Aisha didn't move. She simply looked at Jessica. "Still think I'm nobody." Jessica's mouth opened, but no words came. Malik was already uploading. The video had caught everything from the torn boarding pass to the smug exchanges, the bribery, the arrogance. He tapped in a title. "Black woman denied first-class seat on Star Air watch." What happens, then a hashtag, Star Air shame, and tapped post. Elena, on a secure channel, routed copies of the footage and audio to 3 national reporters. She also sent it to Aisha's secure backup server, a failsafe. "Just in case," Victor stammered, "this is your recording me without consent. This is public space. No expectation of privacy," Aisha replied. Karen sat down hard, face flushed. "This is ridiculous." But the whispers were now full-on voices. One man muttered, "I'm switching airlines." A woman added, "Hope she sues them." Jessica tried to regain control. "Folks, please remain calm," but control was already gone. The story had taken flight without them. Aisha turned slightly to Malik. She didn't smile, but her eyes held something like gratitude. "Keep filming." He nodded. This moment of corruption was about to spiral into a crisis. Star Air couldn't contain. Victor Hayes barked orders into his walkie, but his voice cracked under pressure. "Shut it down. Cut the feed." Now he shouted, but it was too late. The words he thought were private had already been shared with half the cabin and soon the world. The first-class cabin, once quiet with elite detachment, now buzzed with outrage. Phones were raised like torches. Passengers recorded, whispered, uploaded in 2B. A teenage girl was already live streaming. "They kicked her out 'cause she's black. This is crazy." "Look, Aisha." Carter stood still, her hands by her sides. She had not raised her voice. She had not threatened. She didn't need to. Victor tried again. "This is a misunderstanding. It's being taken out of context." "No," came a calm voice from the back. "Malik." He stood up, phone steady in his hands. "You tried to erase her. Now everyone sees you." Victor's face twitched, his false professionalism cracking. "Security," he snapped. 2 uniformed guards appeared at the cabin door. Without a word, they approached Aisha. Karen sat back smugly, arms crossed. "Finally, let's clean up this mess." Jessica straightened her vest like the queen of a collapsing empire. She refused to comply. She told the guards. She was aggressive. Aisha raised an eyebrow. Aggressive. The guards didn't answer. They simply reached out. They didn't grab her harshly. Not at first, but their fingers locked tight around her upper arms enough to bruise. Her phone slipped into her pocket as she turned her head, eyes focused not on her captors, but on Malik Rowe. 5, she called evenly. "My bag." Malik bent, retrieving a small black crossbody from under the seat. She nodded. "Keep it safe." Karen cackled. "She thinks she's royalty now." The guards began escorting Aisha down the aisle. She didn't resist. She didn't yell. She moved like a current, steady, inevitable. Cameras followed. Voices filled the air, some murmuring support, others silent in complicity. Victor followed behind, trying to keep his voice authoritative. "You'll be hearing from our legal team." Aisha stopped just before the aircraft door. "I look forward to it," she said. Then in one motion so quick it looked choreographed, she tossed something to Malik, a thin silver USB barely the size of a key. Malik caught it instinctively. Victor lunged. "Give that back." Malik stepped behind another passenger. Not a chance. Aisha turned to the guards. You can let go now. They didn't until Victor signaled with a sharp nod. The guards stepped back. Unsure, Aisha adjusted her sleeves. Her coat had shifted in the struggle, revealing a slender silver pin on her lapel, one that no one recognized. Not yet. Malik slid into a seat in the gate lounge, once off the plane, popped the USB into his laptop, and clicked the file labeled Star Air Records Encrypted Zip. A prompt appeared. He hesitated, then entered the passcode Aisha had whispered as they passed. Justice 21. The folder opened. Inside were dozens of audio files, transaction logs, staff memos, internal chat screenshots, all linking Victor Jessica and several upper-level Star Air managers to racial profiling seat reassignments based on appearance and suppression of customer complaints. A pattern, a system. Malik's hands trembled. Then he clicked, upload. Meanwhile, back at the terminal, Aisha walked calmly through gate B12. Passengers parted like water. Whispers followed her, but she didn't shrink from them. Her phone vibrated. Elena Torres viral. CNN just posted Fox 2. It's everywhere. Aisha exhaled slowly, her spine straightening. Across the country, the hashtag #StarAirShame exploded. The video clip had all the elements of a storm. A black woman mistreated a blatant bribe caught on camera, a cold flight crew, and a silent, complicit elite. It played again and again. Jessica tearing the boarding pass. Victor's voice echoing. She's gone. Karen's smug sneers. Malik's video hit 1 million views in under 12 minutes. Major news outlets ran with it. Racial profiling at 30,000 feet, airline crisis. Passenger mistreatment goes viral, tech CEO targeted on first-class flight. And then came the twist that broke the story. Wide open Elena, working from a secure location inside Star Air's data center, had just dropped a quiet bomb. She uploaded Aisha Carter's full profile, not just as a passenger, but as the CEO of Tech Trend Innovations, a multi-billion-dollar company whose software powered more than 40% of Star Air's reservation and fleet management systems. Social media went into meltdown. Wait, she's their vendor. They messed with the wrong one. This is corporate suicide. By the time Aisha reached baggage claim, her phone was ringing off the hook. Reporters, lawyers, executives from other airlines. Everyone wanted to know what she'd say next. A message popped up from Elena's stock down 15%. Board's in emergency meeting. You ready? Aisha responded with one word. Yes. She tapped Malik's number. Good work, she said. Head to Terminal 4. There's someone waiting for you. Who he asked, you'll see. As he packed up his laptop, the terminal TVs flickered. A news anchor face, tight with urgency, read from a breaking update. Sources confirm that Star Air executives are now under investigation for systemic misconduct. An anonymous whistleblower has released over 24 files pointing to years of internal abuse. The whistleblower. A passenger removed from a first-class seat just 30 minutes ago. At the gate, Aisha adjusted her coat. She was alone now, but not isolated. She walked with quiet precision, like someone who had just moved the first chess piece in a very long game. This time, no one dared to stop her, as the world raged online. Star Air's executives were about to face a reckoning they never saw coming. At precisely 10:41 a.m., the glass walls of Star Air's executive conference room, perched high above downtown Manhattan, pulsed with tension. The emergency meeting had been called less than 15 minutes earlier. Everyone had seen the same video. Everyone had read the headlines. CEO Richard Langston stood at the head of the oval-shaped table, fists braced on the polished wood like he could anchor the room through sheer force. "This cannot be happening," he growled. One damn seat is about to ruin us." Victor Hayes sat to his left, pale and sweating. His voice cracked. "It's being blown out of proportion." She staged it. She had cameras, planted mics. She had receipts cut in board member Denise Callahan. Confirmed ticket, confirmed seat, and that feed. The whole cabin heard you. Richard's phone buzzed again. Another alert. Another article, Star Air stock down 22% in 36 minutes. Karen Langley's voice suddenly came alive on the conference room screen, joining via video from her luxury villa in Florida. Her hair was freshly curled, her lips painted with confidence. "She's nobody," Karen insisted. "This'll pass. We deny it. Blame the editing. Say it's AI generated. These things fade." Denise stared at her. "You bribed an operations manager on camera." Karen blinked. Victor spoke again, this time slower. "She's not just a passenger, we just got the update. She's Aisha Carter, CEO of Tech Trend Innovations." Richard's face hardened. He knew the name. He remembered the partnership proposal from 2 years ago, the one his tech director rejected for being too radical. He remembered Aisha's name flagged in an HR report when she had once applied to their software engineering division a decade earlier. Rejected without interview. Not a cultural fit, the note had said. That rejection had just returned with a vengeance. "She has leverage," muttered board member Rami Patel. "Our booking software, routing systems, internal comms all run on Tech Trend code. If she pulls the plug, she won't." Karen snapped. "She's grandstanding." Richard's eyes narrowed. "She emailed me 15 minutes ago." The room went quiet. He pulled up the message and read aloud. "You have 2 hours. Meet me at Star Air headquarters, or I release everything. Every transaction, every memo, every buried complaint. Your move." AC Victor slumped back. "She's bluffing. She doesn't have access." Denise raised a brow. "Then why do the reporters have internal chat logs and payout records?" Karen leaned forward. "Don't you dare cave to her. She's got us cornered," Rami said. "You want to go down with this ship?" Richard stared out the window. Below, taxis crawled like insects, but the city didn't care what happened in this room. "Fine," he muttered. "We'll meet her." Meanwhile, Elena Torres sat in a back-office conference room 2 floors below, eyes fixed on a scrolling dashboard. Her custom intrusion software, once embedded quietly into Star Air's finance network as part of a system integration test 3 years ago, was now lighting up like a Christmas tree. Offshore accounts, bonus discrepancies, slush funds labeled customer reconciliation, all tied to Victor and 2 other senior executives who hadn't even been named yet. She clicked a secure channel on her phone. "Elena, the files are clean. All ready. Aisha, send everything to the board. They need to see it before I walk in." 5 minutes later, Richard's inbox pinged. The file name read simply, Liability Index. He opened it. First page, a spreadsheet of Karen Langley's upgrade reimbursements, half of them coded as comped for disruption. Next page, Victor's approval of falsified misconduct reports for over 40 minority passengers. Third page, internal emails between Jessica Reed and a supervisor mocking passengers by skin tone and suggesting maybe use the accidental downgrade trick on her. Silence overtook the room. Rami stood. "If this goes public, we're done." Karen's voice turned shrill. "She hacked us." Denise didn't blink. "She used her own system. That's not hacking. That's strategy." Victor turned to Richard, his voice brittle. "You need to back me up here." Richard looked at him like dead weight. "I don't need to back up anything. You're finished." Across the lobby. The elevator chimed open. Aisha Carter stepped into Star Air headquarters dressed in charcoal gray and calm precision. Her steps echoed in the marble atrium. She carried no briefcase, no entourage, just her phone and her resolve. The receptionist froze. "Ms. Carter. Mr. Langston is expecting me," she said. "Tell him I'm early. Back upstairs." Richard closed the folder and sighed. "She wins either way." "No," Karen spat. "We destroy the files. Leak fake documents. Call it a smear. She already sent it to the press," Denise said flatly. Then, as if fate waited for punctuation, Richard's phone rang again. He answered, listened, and paled. "She's here." Karen opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Victor stood slowly. "You'll protect me, right?" Richard didn't answer. This boardroom was about to become a battlefield, and Aisha was walking in armed with truth timing and absolute control. The double doors to the executive boardroom opened without a knock. Aisha Carter stepped inside with the quiet authority of someone who did not need to be announced. Her charcoal gray suit was immaculate, her gaze clear and unwavering. Around the long, polished table, every executive straightened. The air felt heavier now, no longer charged with denial, but submission. Richard Langston rose from his seat, Ms. Carter. "Sit down," Aisha said gently but firmly. He obeyed. Karen's face twisted. "You have no right barging in here like I have every right," Aisha replied, eyes never leaving hers. "Because unlike you, I earned this seat. And unlike you, I don't have to buy silence." Victor folded his arms. "This is a stunt." Aisha laid a folder on the center of the table. That folder contains every transaction, internal memo, and discriminatory report that's been buried under your watch. It also contains proof of bribery, customer fraud, and systemic profiling. Richard opened the folder and froze. The top page showed Victor's digital signature approving customer downgrades by discretionary criteria. Criteria that, upon closer inspection, translated to appearance. Aisha stepped closer. This wasn't a single incident. It was policy, and now it's public. Karen's face reddened. "This is slander. I've already briefed federal regulators," Aisha said. "The only question left is whether you want to survive this as a company." Denise Callahan cleared her throat. "What exactly are you proposing?" Aisha didn't blink. "Fire Victor Hayes, Jessica Reed, and cancel Karen Langley's platinum contract. Today." Victor laughed bitterly. "You think you can dictate terms in here?" Aisha looked to Richard. "Try me. Refuse, and I pull every tech trend license you depend on. Your booking systems go down, your comms freeze, your customers walk." Karen turned to Richard. "You wouldn't let her do that." "You can't." "She can," Denise said quietly. "And she's not bluffing." Richard sank into his chair. For the first time that morning, his voice lost its edge. "Hayes, you're done. Effective immediately." Victor stood slowly. "You'll regret this." "No." Aisha said, "You will." He turned and stormed out without another word. Karen stood next. "This is a disgrace. I've flown with this airline for over a decade and abused it for just as long." Aisha replied, "Your privileges are revoked." Karen looked around the room, expecting someone to defend her. No one did. She grabbed her purse and stormed off the screen, her video call ending in a blink. Richard exhaled heavily. "Jessica's already been suspended. We'll make it permanent." Aisha nodded. "Now we talk about the future." Denise leaned forward. "What do you want?" Aisha smiled faintly. "Change." She walked to the whiteboard and picked up a marker. Star Air will immediately implement an internal anti-bias audit. All reports will be made public. You will create a passenger equity council with at least 50% representation from communities of color. You will also appoint an independent ethics officer with full oversight. Denise nodded, taking notes. "That's just the beginning," Aisha continued. "All employees, gate agents, flight attendants, supervisors will go through verified anti-discrimination training quarterly, non-negotiable." "And who oversees that?" Richard asked. Aisha turned to him. "Me, or someone I appoint." He hesitated, but nodded. Then she tapped her tablet and cast a live video to the screen behind her. A woman appeared, dressed in sleek navy, her voice sharp and clear. Sarah Nguyen, CEO of Skypulse Airlines. Richard Sarah said pleasure. "Though I wish it were under better circumstances," Richard paled. "Why is she?" Aisha cut in. "Because Tech Trend is no longer exclusive to you." Sarah and I have been partners for over a year, and we've built a system that monitors passenger treatment across airlines. It's called Fairfly. Sarah smiled. And we're rolling it out to every airline willing to meet the new standard. Those who don't will be exposed, and those who resist, she shrugged, they'll fall. Richard sat back stunned. Aisha continued, You'll join the Fairfly initiative today, or by morning your systems will be suspended. Your competitors will know your secrets, and your board will answer to shareholders in open court. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Richard reached for his pen. Send me the papers. Aisha nodded. You're making the right decision. Denise looked up. Is there anything else? Yes, Aisha said, her voice softening. You owe the passengers you hurt, the employees you ignored, and the communities you excluded. She picked up her phone and sent one final message. Moments later, a press release hit every major media outlet. Star Air accepts accountability, partners with Tech Trend and SkyPulse to launch equity overhaul. The headline was only the beginning. With Star Air humbled, Aisha was about to transform it forever. 3 weeks after the storm, Star Air looked nothing like the airline it had been. Gone were the quiet whispers of favoritism and closed-door excuses. In their place were glass-walled meetings, diversity audits, and a staff training schedule printed on every break room wall. Aisha Carter, though not officially part of the board, now held an office just 3 floors below the executive suite, with her name etched in chrome on the door. She had refused the title of consultant. Titles didn't interest her. Results did. The first program she implemented was blunt in name and sharper in function. Bias doesn't fly. Every Star Air employee, from flight attendants to top-tier directors, was required to undergo real-time scenario training. No slideshows, no generic HR videos. Aisha brought in civil rights educators, psychologists, and equity designers. She sat in on the sessions herself, silently observing from the back row. Initial resistance was high. Some employees scoffed at the idea. Others feared it was a publicity stunt. But when the first team of gate agents passed the new evaluation with flying colors and were then promoted internally, skepticism began to fade. Even Malik Jones, now a formal part of Star Air's Public Transparency Council, noticed the change. In his first live Q&A as company ambassador, he answered a viewer's question about why he stayed. His answer was simple. Because if someone like Aisha Carter believes this place can change, who am I to doubt it? But Aisha hadn't stopped there. Behind the scenes, she and her engineering team at Tech Trend launched Fairfly, a cloud-based artificial intelligence platform designed to monitor passenger interactions across the aviation industry. From check-in counters to in-flight service, Fairfly flagged behavior patterns, tone analysis from audio recordings, and discrepancies in seat upgrades. Every flag required human review, but nothing went unnoticed. It was bold, unprecedented, and deeply controversial. Delta resisted, so did United. But when SkyPulse Airlines, under CEO Sarah Nguyen, adopted Fairfly and made the system public, something shifted. Within days, pressure from civil rights groups, travel associations, and customers mounted. Aisha held a press conference, streamed nationwide. She stood at a simple podium, no flashy logo, just her voice and a message. This isn't about punishment, it's about prevention. Fairfly isn't here to cancel anyone, it's here to make sure dignity travels with every passenger. The impact was immediate. Several airlines scrambled to join the initiative, branding themselves as equity-forward. Ticket sales surged, where Fairfly was active. Independent watchdogs praised the transparency. A new wave of accountability began, and Star Air, it became the model. For the first time in its history, the airline earned the National Aviation Ethics Award, a distinction previously reserved for humanitarian missions. Employees began sharing their own stories of redemption, of seeing passengers not as problems, but as people. The culture shifted, not overnight, but undeniably. Back in her office, Aisha watched it all unfold with quiet satisfaction. She didn't need applause. The software was working. The system was moving. For her, that was enough. 6 months after the incident, the name Star Air no longer brought to mind silent prejudice or scandal. Instead, it had become a case study of collapse of reckoning and of redemption. For Karen Langley, the reckoning was personal. Her contract was voided. Her country club removed her from the member roster. Luxury brands quietly blacklisted her name from VIP lists. Her smug presence once demanded privilege. Now it drew whispers and distance. An exclusive travel magazine published a feature titled The Fall of Platinum Karen, and she couldn't even get it taken down. Victor Hayes, once the face of operations, now filed reports at a second-tier logistics company on the edge of Newark. His corner office was replaced with a desk near the copier. Colleagues avoided eye contact, not from fear, but from embarrassment. His resume used to boast leadership. Now it read like a warning. And Jessica Reed, the first one to humiliate Aisha on that flight, was gone from aviation altogether. She spent her days volunteering at a local food pantry where no one recognized her and no one asked about her past. She didn't offer it. She just showed up silent but steady, week after week. One day, a letter arrived at Aisha's desk. No name, no return address, just a short handwritten note: "I was wrong. I see it now. If there's still a place for people who want to make it right, I'd like to try." J.R. Aisha folded the letter, once set it aside, and picked up a folder labeled Second Chance. She had created the program not to erase the past, but to give those who truly sought growth a path forward. The program partnered with training centers, offered counseling and paid stipends to former employees across the industry. People who'd been part of the problem, but were now part of the solution. Malik Jones, now Star Air's youngest ever director of passenger equity, led the initiative with fire and humility. "It's not just about righting wrongs," he told a packed panel at the Aviation Inclusion Summit. "It's about never repeating them." Under Aisha's quiet guidance, Star Air had not only survived, it had evolved. Passenger satisfaction soared, complaints plummeted. More importantly, people believed in the brand again. At the 25th Annual Global Airline Expo, Star Air won the Human Dignity and Service Award, and Elena Torres, now VP of Systems Ethics, accepted it in Aisha's name. But Aisha herself wasn't there. She was in Atlanta, standing quietly beside a group of young students on a tarmac, watching as they boarded a scholarship-sponsored flight to visit top universities. Most had never flown before. Aisha had personally funded the program through a new initiative, Fly Equal, a global fund supporting equity for underserved travelers, employees, and aspiring aviation professionals. It operated quietly behind the scenes, but its reach was growing. In less than 6 months, Fly Equal had helped over 1,300 individuals gain access to flights training or second chances in the skies, and no one knew it was hers. She didn't want the credit. She just wanted change to last longer than a headline. As the students boarded, a girl no older than 15 turned back and looked at Aisha. "Are you coming with us?" Aisha smiled. "I've already been where you're going. Now it's your turn." The plane door closed behind them. A breeze tugged at the hem of her coat. She looked up, watching the aircraft lift smoothly into the air. Then she turned and walked back toward the future. She was still building. Step by steady step. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about progress. Aisha Carter proved that one voice, when steady and brave, can ground a system and help an entire generation take flight. Have you ever stood up for what's right, even when the world said to sit down? Share your story in the comments. And if you believe in dignity for everyone, subscribe, because this story isn't over. Not yet.